Animation movies are generally perceived to be made for children, mostly because the vast majority of animation is indeed marketed towards that age group. But there are countless animated movies that were made for adults, with beautiful animation styles and thought-provoking storylines, without the constrictions that reality brings with it. Let's take a look at the best animated movies for adults. Let's kick this thing off with Akira. Akira was one of the first animated movies that helped popularize anime in the Western world. Released back in 1988, the movie was directed by Katsuhiro Otomo and written by Otomo with the help of Izo Hashimoto. Based on the 1982 manga of the same name, Akira is set in a dystopian New Tokyo and one of the defining works of cyberpunk cinema. Most of the character design and settings remained truthful to its source material, but the plot is considerably different, and the manga also continued to be published for another 2 years after the movie's release. The movie tells the story of Tetsuo Shima, who finds that he's acquired telekinetic powers after getting into a motorcycle accident. With those abilities, he sets out to fight the corruption of the city, eventually even going after the oppressive political powers that control his city. A live-action adaptation of Akira has been on the minds of a lot of people for over 20 years now, with Taika Waititi set to direct, but so far, other projects have been prioritized. Next up, we have Persepolis. Marjane Satrapi, a French-Iranian novelist and illustrator, made the adaptation of her own autobiographical comic book of the same name. Persepolis got a well-deserved Oscar nomination and was heavily influenced by Satrapi's own experiences. It's a coming-of-age story about a girl growing up in Iran during the Iranian Revolution. And while the story specifically speaks to the Iranian female experience, it also brings up universal themes that anyone with a little heart can relate to. Persepolis made its debut at the 2007 Cannes Film Festival, where it won the Jury Prize alongside Silent Light. It was then released in France and Belgium, where it got universal praise from critics and viewers alike, and was nominated for Best Animated Feature at the 80th Academy Awards. Persepolis is a prime example of how a movie for adults doesn't have to be live action to make an impression, and if you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely give it a shot. And now, let's dive into Animatrix. As the title suggests, Animatrix is set in the world of the Matrix trilogy. The anthology movie was released in 2003 and used a wide variety of various animation styles to portray a total of 9 different short films. They tell the backstory of the Matrix series, which includes the original war between machines and humanity, which ultimately led to the creation of the Matrix. On top of that, it also provides interesting side stories that expand the universe, neatly tying in the live-action series. Animatrix was produced by the Wachowskis, and while nothing can top the first volume of the Matrix trilogy, many consider the Animatrix to be an improvement on the consequent The Matrix sequels, and was generally positively received by critics. Next up, The Lord of the Rings. We're all familiar with Peter Jackson's adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, but have you heard about Ralph Bakshi's attempt to bring his vision of the epic to life in animation format? Initially, Bakshi intended to animate the trilogy across 2 sweeping movies, but was met with problems behind the scenes and only ever managed to finish the first one. Sadly, that means that his adaptation was cut short, ending somewhere in the middle of the 2 towers. The unfinished nature of the animated Lord of the Rings is the main reason the movie got some mixed reviews from critics, even garnering some disappointment and hostility from those who couldn't accept its incomplete nature. But despite that, Bakshi's Lord of the Rings has become a true cult classic over the years, and definitely deserves a viewing or 2 in case you haven't gotten a chance yet. Wait a second, we absolutely have a few more gems for you coming up. Next up, we'll discuss Waking Life, Grave of the Fireflies, Ghost in the Shell, the animated adaptation, not the Hollywood version, and Loving Vincent. Each of these have so much more to offer than your average live-action movie, and all of them deserve to be on your to-watch list. Want to know why? Stay tuned, and we'll tell you all about it, especially the one animated movie that was entirely made out of paintings. You can probably guess which one. Let's get to it. First up, we have Waking Life. Released in 2001, Waking Life is an American American experimental adult animation film that was written and directed by Richard Linklater. At times a little confusing, Waking Life explores an extensive range of philosophical issues, including consciousness, the nature of reality, dreams and lucid dreams, free will, the meaning of life, and existentialism. In Waking Life, Linklater was able to put an engaging spin on the structural style of Slacker, which was Linklater's debut feature. The movie is centered on a young man who wanders through a series of dreamlike realities in which he encounters a number of individuals with whom he has philosophical discussions. Waking Life also includes several parallels to Slacker, and Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke also reprise their characters from the 1995 Before Sunrise in one scene. The whole movie was digitally rotoscoped and was received with critical acclaim at the 2001 Sundance Film Festival, where it premiered. Sadly, it did underperform at the box office, but that shouldn't keep you from diving into this thought-provoking animated movie. Next up, Grave of the Fireflies. Grave of the Fireflies has widely been recognized as one of the greatest war films of all time to this day, and is also still considered as a major work of Japanese animation, even though it was released back in 1988. The animated tragedy was based on the 1967 semi-autobiographical short story that bears the same name, written by Akiyuki Nosaka, and gives an extremely emotional experience. It resonated so deeply with audiences that it was instantly recognized as the best drama movie of the decade in which it was released. Grave of the Fireflies follows a pair of siblings in their attempt to survive the end of World War II in the city of Kobe, Japan. But the movie doesn't make you wonder, and it's revealed that they have both passed away in the first few moments. The rest of the movie is a backflash of their journey. This is a movie that you really have to see, but be prepared to cry a lot. But it will be worth it, we promise. And now, Ghost in the Shell. You've probably heard or even seen the live-action adaptation of Ghost in the Shell, which featured Scarlett Johansson as its main character, Motoko Kusanagi. That adaptation of the manga of the same name, which was written by Masamune Shiro, has slightly tarnished the reputation of the story because of Hollywood's tendency to whitewash their adaptations. But the 1995 adult animated movie, directed by Mamoru Oshii and adapted by collaborator Kazunori Ito, shouldn't be compared with it to begin with. The animation is breathtaking, and the story touches on some difficult themes that nonetheless should be talked about more openly. Set in 2029, Ghost in the Shell tells the story of Motoko Kusanagi, a cyborg public security agent who has the objective to hunt down a mysterious hacker who is known as the Puppet Master. The narrative effortlessly and authentically incorporates numerous philosophical themes, focusing on self-identity in a technologically advanced world, which couldn't be more relatable in this day and age. And we saved the best for last, Loving Vincent. Loving Vincent has been credited as the first ever fully painted feature film, and you'd think that means it got more attention. But as tragic as Vincent van Gogh's own life was, this isn't exactly the case, and the animated movie has sunk into the archives as if it's just any other animated movie. Loving Vincent follows the story of a man named Armand Rouland in 1890 France, who finds himself in the possession of Vincent van Gogh's final letter, which has to be delivered to the late painter's brother. But really, Loving Vincent is about Van Gogh himself, his tragic death that remains a mystery to this day, and most importantly, his life. As an important quote of the movie goes, "You want to know so much about his death, but what do you know of his life?" Loving Vincent was in development for 6 years, and artists painted each of the 65,000 frames, discarding over 1,345 that were not deemed worthy of this beautiful ode, to mimic the art style of the world's most beloved painter, who was so cruelly ignored while he was still alive. The movie is an absolute art piece on its own, telling a story that deserves to be heard. If you haven't seen it, this is your sign to do so, and that's where we're going to leave it for now. Which one of these hadn't been on your radar before and has definitely been added to your watch list, and why? Are there other animated movies for adults that you would have liked to see included? Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are. And thanks for watching.